Got Roaches in Her Crib by Quan Millz, Chapter 5. Crispy gusts of Lake Michigan wind danced in delight amidst the blazing sunny backdrop as Saturday progressed into the mid afternoon. With barely a cloud in sight, this was typical for the start of June in the Chi. Cook County Jail was Metropolitan Chicago's central jail complex located on 2700 California Avenue in the city's predominantly Mexican southwest side. Located on nearly 100 acres, in actuality, it was the largest single jail site in the whole entire motherfucking US. It temporarily housed Chi-Town's accused criminals as they awaited trial for various crimes. Gang members, dope dealers, domestic abusers, rapists, carjackers, drug traffickers, and others called called county their second home, given the frequency of how often they came in and out of the place. The jail, colloquially called as county, was temporary shelter before inmates were tried in a court and shipped off to some state prison miles away from the city. Most inmates only spent a month or two here before they were sentenced and sent away. However, some were held there indefinitely, serving out long prison like sentences thanks to a complicated, jammed up court system filled with corruption, red tape, and other administrative inefficiencies. Nonetheless, despite the negativity that often characterized the jail, today about 50 inmates, all participants in the Daddy Daughter Dance program, crowded their mostly young black and brown selves into the small auditorium located inside of one of the jail's low security centers. One participant was Austin Devon Watkins, Maya's biological father. He, along with other inmates, were preparing for the dance later tonight by setting up round tables, chairs, and other decorations inside the auditorium. Decked out in an orange jail-issued uniform, Austin worked diligently side by side with another inmate, DeMario, arranging the round tables and foldable chairs around the makeshift dance floor. If one were to make a cursory glance around the auditorium, most of the inmates had hardened looks that matched their turbulent lives of crime and violence. Some had faded tats scribbled all over their faces. Some had flashy gold grills permanently engraved into their mouths. Others had dark circles burned around their eyes, the revealing sign of stress and turmoil they'd experienced living the murderous Chirac street life. Austin, however, wasn't like the rest of the inmates. He was somewhat model-esque, and too many looked like he definitely didn't belong inside the and to many looked like he definitely didn't belong inside the jail, but more on a NYC fashion runway. Standing at around 6 feet tall, he was in possession of smooth, dark brown skin that paired well with his had suave, brownish gray eyes. Well kept twists ran down to the middle of his back. A lightly shaven facial beard adorned his chiseled face, built like a running back for the Chicago Bears. Had Austin not messed around in the streets as a teenager, he had a high chance of being on someone's football team getting ready for the upcoming preseason. Austin spent most of his childhood and teenage years growing up in the heart of Chatham, a predominantly black middle-class neighborhood on Chicago's South Side. There, he earned the name MC, or Morris, as everyone said he resembled Morris Chestnut. Austin, recently turning 35, came from a decent, working middle-class family. His father, Gary Sr., who died some years ago from colon cancer, was a retired city streets and sanitation worker, and his mother, Dolores, most people always called her Mrs. Watkins, was a retired special education teacher. Despite growing up with church-going black parents who did their best at rearing their kids to be outstanding citizens, Austin was their only child out of 4 who somehow managed to get sucked into Chicago street life. Austin was the second oldest in his family. His oldest sister, Kelly, was an executive director of an education nonprofit. His younger brother, Gary Jr., worked as an IT administrator for the city of Chicago. His other younger brother, Jonah, was currently finishing up a master's degree in creative writing from Columbia College. Austin, up until his junior year of high school, always had his ambitions set on going to school to study architecture. However, when he turned 16, he got involved with a local gang and started committing petty crimes. Shoplifting, selling nickel bags of weed and coke was his start to his trouble. Eventually, he became a jack boy. His specialty, robbing affluent white snobs on the city's north side and downtown. As he got older and into his 20s, Austin ramped up his involvement in the streets and became the gun plug, selling all types of illegal handguns, semi-automatics, and rifles to affiliated gang members across the metro. No bullshit. He did have a solid good, yet at turbulent times, but run up to about, no bullshit. He did have a solid good, yet turbulent at times, run up until about 6 years ago. The ATF's local office in Chicago set up a private task force to go after illegal gun trafficking in the city. One of Austin's homeboys, Boonk, got snatched up by the Jakes. After rounds of torture, a confession, snitching, and a plea deal led the ATF straight to Austin. The Jack boy turned gun trafficker got caught up in a major sting, and after being faced with multiple charges, Austin was looking at damn near life in federal prison. Even with this being his major first offense, that didn't matter to the federal prosecutors looking to squash Chicago's growing gang violence problem. To the white boys in suits, Austin hustled tools of death that were linked to Chi-Town's growing murder rate. For the average nigga who got caught up in the game by this point, they would have accepted their fate and began to mentally adjust to life in prison. Gary Sr. couldn't see one of his own go down like this, and he became hell-bent on trying to save his son and see him redeemed. Furthermore, he couldn't fathom seeing his son spend the rest of his life behind bars, especially since Austin had a daughter who he needed to rear. So after much praying and deliberation, the Watkins patriarch dipped into his retirement savings and used damn near $100,000 to hire attorney Alton Jones, one of the best criminal defense lawyers in the Midwest, to save his son from them crackers. I guess you could say Alton Jones was Chicago's version of Johnny Cochran. After lengthy back and forth talks with the federal prosecutors, Austin, on behalf of Mr. Jones, negotiated a plea deal, a deal that essentially allowed Austin to walk away with just 6 years of probation. There is a God, Gary Sr. thought when his son got out of jail. 3 months later, though, Gary Sr. passed away. Then, it wasn't even a full year later that Austin found himself back in legal trouble. On a cold and rainy night, Austin got pulled over for a broken headlight. One thing led to another. The cops found a bag of weed and immediately took him to jail for violating his probation. Because Austin's crime was simply a petty drug possession misdemeanor, rather than ship him off to federal prison, the feds decided to keep him detained in county for a minimum of 2 years. Although 2 years seemed like nothing considering just 2 years prior, Austin was facing more than 60 behind bars, those 2 years still felt like a life spent in eternal hell. Austin's scheduled release date was in a month, July 1st. With less than a month left before getting released, Austin was doing his best to ensure he'd never come back to jail, ever again. Lesson fucking learned. One of the first things Austin had plans on doing after getting out of jail was going to college to get his bachelor's degree. Before his father died, Austin made a promise that he would clean himself up, get his act together, and go back to school to get his bachelor's like the rest of his siblings did. It was the ultimate dream Gary Sr. wanted for all of his kids, to be college educated, since he never had the opportunity to do so. Wanting to fulfill that promise to his father, when Austin first got locked up, he worked studiously hard to obtain his GED and also enrolled in a carpentry program. Inmates were encouraged to pick up a trade, and Austin always loved doing craft projects as a teenager. It was something him and his father bonded over before he got sucked into them unforgiving Chirac streets. The sound of clinks from metal chairs and foldable tables mixed in with the faint, peaceful conversations inmates were having one another. Man, I can't wait until I finally get out of this motherfucker, Austin moaned as he set up some brown metal seats around a round gray table. Shit, feel like an eternity. Why are you even in here in the first place? The short, portly, and older light-skinned DeMario asked, shaking his bald head. Man, probation violation. Jake's pulled me over for a broken headlight and found a bag of loud in my front console. Dumb shit, I know. Austin shook his head as he continued placing chairs around the tables. Other inmates were slowly setting up. Yeah, well, I've been in here for damn near 7 years. I know them 2 years felt like centuries. Can't wait until I leave this motherfucker too. Leave that street shit finally the fuck alone, DeMario uttered. What you in for? Austin asked DeMario. Man, they got me on possession with the intent to distribute. I'm a third-time offender, so they slapped me with a 10-year minimum. Damn, they ain't said you send you downstate? Nah, prison overpopulated because I'm a low-level, non-violent offender, counting keeping my ass. Damn, well, at least you're not all the way down in the boondocks. Probably easy for your peoples to see you and shit, you feel me? Yeah, true. Especially my baby moms and my girl. Man, I miss them so much. That's why I can't wait until tonight, so I can have some sense of what home feels like, you know? Yeah, bro, I understand. Trust me. Well, maybe not the baby mom's part. My baby mama be on straight bullshit, Austin groaned, shaking his head. His trivial scowl then immediately turned into a smile once he thought about Maya. But my baby girl, Maya, I miss her ass every fucking day. Yeah, I know, bruh. Keep thinking about her. It'll make you want to stay your ass out for real this time. I regret every single day of my life doing some dumb shit. As the two men continued to talk and work at the same time, Dr. Sterling, the lead jail social worker, made her way into the auditorium with another corrections officer by her side. Dr. Sterling and was medium height and build. Oh my god, medium height and build, and had locks with conch shells in the end of them. Decked out in full professional attire, a black suit, white blouse, and some cheap pumps. If one had blurry vision, it would be easy to mistake Dr. Sterling for Lauren Hill. The 40-something-year-old Dr. Sterling had her PhD in clinical psychology from the University of Chicago and had been working in prison mental health services for the last decade or so. Hey, Demario, I need to talk to you for a second, Dr. Sterling yelled from the front entrance of the auditorium. Her prominently audible and serious-sounding yell of Demario's name echoed throughout the auditorium, immediately catching everyone's attention. All the inmates suddenly stopped what they were doing and turned their attention towards Dr. Sterling. Damn, why's she yelling my name like that for? Demario muttered as he put the seat in his hand down on the ground and slowly made his way towards the unassuming social worker. Seconds later, everyone returned back to what they were doing. Some inmates were lining the walls of the auditorium with high-end mauve and white linens, along with glittery ribbon decorations to make the entire place look regal and welcoming. Dr. Sterling pulled Demario off to the side as the corrections officer stood on guard. No, no, not my baby, no, please, no, Demario screamed. Austin, along with the rest of the inmates, suddenly threw their gaze at a screaming and emotionally disheveled Demario. Come on, brother, it's gonna be all right, I got you, Officer Tompkins, the tall and built black corrections officer, said, trying to keep Demario from collapsing to the ground. Lord, why? Take me instead, God, please, not my baby. Everyone completely paused what they were doing and gawked at Demario's emotional breakdown. Austin had no idea what was going on with Demario, but based on Demario's flustered behavior and erratic cries, it was quite obvious something happened to his daughter. A few other corrections officers, two tall, white, young-looking dudes, entered the auditorium and helped escort semi-limp Demario out of the auditorium. Dr. Sterling, still standing idle next to the entrance of the auditorium, pursed her lips and shook her head in disbelief as she held her arms by her elbows. Curious as he was, Austin stopped what he was doing and slowly trekked over to Dr. Sterling. Hey, Dr. Sterling, I hate to be nosy, but what happened to my brother? Dr. Sterling exhaled. Early this morning, his fiancée and his daughter were unfortunately caught in a crossfire of a shootout that happened on Lakeshore Drive. Well, is she okay? Is everything going to be all right? Austin asked. Although his street intuition informed him, based on Demario's breakdown, she probably didn't make it. Unfortunately, no, but his fiancée is in critical condition. Austin, a bit disturbed from hearing the news, covered his mouth with his right hand and shook his head in shock and disbelief. Man, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's some crazy ass shit to have happened today. She was supposed to be here, right? Yes, that was his only daughter. Fuck, Austin continued, shaking his head as he lowered it. Count your blessings, Austin. When your daughter gets here, you need to love on her as much as you can because you never know what life will have in store for you. Austin couldn't say anything in response. He just nodded in affirmation to her statement and walked away. It was completely fucked up for something like that to happen on what was supposed to be a splendidly happy and beautiful early evening, Austin thought as he continued to assemble chairs around tables. Hey, yo, what happened, bro? Hector, another inmate asked. Hector was your typical Mexican clicked-up gangbanger who was serving a 4-year sentence for possession. Man, some nigga shot up Demario's fiancée and his daughter this morning on the E-way. Baby girl didn't make it. His baby mama is fighting for her life. Man, that game done fucking changed. Motherfuckers is straight murking people on the highway now. Ain't no more respect for the rules and regulations. Hector, a bona fide Latin Disciples member, was referring to the norms and the ways of old school gang affiliation. Shit, you ain't lying, homie, Austin responded. Later that afternoon, after getting done setting up the auditorium, Austin made his way to his cell to get ready for the evening. The dance was scheduled to start around 6:30 p.m. promptly. After taking a shower and shaving, he put on a suit that his mother bought for him on clearance from Macy's in downtown. Looking classy and dapper in a black Tom Ford suit, the time had arrived for Austin to make his way back to the auditorium. One of the corrections officers, who was assigned to be a supervisor of the inmates for the night, went by and got Austin and other inmates out of their cells and escorted them down to the auditorium. Butterflies of anxiety flapped their wings inside of Austin's stomach as he anxiously awaited the arrival of Maya. Not seeing or talking to her in years had really taken a serious emotional toll on him, and he didn't know how he was going to respond to seeing her. After getting down to the auditorium, there he was, still some time before the start of the entire dance. 5:58, tick-tocked on. Austin watched as he helped Dr. Sterling set up a photo booth inside the auditorium. One of Dr. Sterling's best friends, Monique, was an event planner and a photographer who was going to take pictures of inmates and their families. She was also going to help people operate the photo booth. Dr. Sterling wanted to ensure inmates had colorful graphic reminders of the event to keep them motivated and on task to stay committed to transforming their lives for the better. There's nothing more powerful than seeing a visual representation of your intimate bond with your own flesh and blood, and Dr. Sterling wanted to make sure inmates knew exactly what they were missing being locked up inside the heavily guarded jail. "I think this is good to go now, Dr. Sterling," Austin said as he finished assembling the photo booth. "Damn, you did that pretty quickly. See, Austin, you are one talented brother. You got them good hands. You need to open up your own construction business or something when you get out," Dr. Sterling commented, amazed that Austin was able to put the photo booth together in no time. Monique would have did it, but given that her assistant had to call out last minute, she was scrambling to set up lighting around another photo set in the auditorium. "Is DeMario going to be all right?" Austin probed, expressing concern his fellow inmate was going to mentally break. Austin knew he wouldn't be able to handle that type of devastating news himself. The last thing he could do was fathom his baby dying in such a horrid and unexpected manner. "Well, it's too early to say. We got him in the psych ward now and he's sedated, but he threatened to kill himself." Dr. Sterling tightened her plump red lips and put her hand on Austin's shoulder in a non-flirtatious manner, because she was a lesbian. "That's why, Austin, I want you to really do your best not to get caught up anymore in that bullshit once you get out in the streets. A lot of people are rooting for you, including your daughter. I just know when she walks through those doors, she is going to bawl, and so are you." Austin nervously chuckled, since Dr. Sterling was right. "Thank you, Dr. Sterling. I'm going to do my best when I get out," Austin assured her as he gazed around the auditorium and glanced all of his inmate brothers dressed up, looking like they were about to go eat at a 5-star French restaurant in downtown. This entire day had been somewhat nerve-wracking for Austin. He didn't know what flood of emotions were going to overwhelm him once his daughter walked through those auditorium double doors. From time to time when his mother would visit him, she did her best to relay over how Maya was doing. However, she couldn't report much since Fredquisha barely let her visit Maya or stay with her, let alone talk to her over the phone. "Well, it's about that time, Austin," Dr. Sterling noted as the time got closer to 6:30. "Yup," Austin replied, and turned his attention towards the front entrance of the auditorium. In about 15 minutes or so, daughters of the inmates were going to be escorted into the auditorium with their guardians. Tonight, Mrs. Watkins was going to be there with Maya. Austin took a deep breath and strolled over to a table where a big fruit punch bowl sat out along with a platter of some mini sandwiches, chips, and other snacks. Austin picked up a red plastic cup and then scooped up some ice and some drink from the bowl, needing to take a quick sip of something to drink before the start of the dance. With the lighting in the auditorium retrofitted to resemble a prom, the entire auditorium glowed with soft pink lighting that matched the princess-like linens and faux diamond sparkling decorations that the inmates worked on all day. As Austin kept taking small sips from the cup, he kept seeing flashes of Maya enter his head. He didn't know how exactly she was going to look. In 2 years, going from 4 to 6 years old, it can make any child look visibly different. Just thinking of all the time he lost not seeing his baby girl was slowly pulling at his delicate heartstrings. And right there and then, as the DJ put on Luther Vandross's Dance with My Father, Austin came to the full realization that he was totally failing as a father.